Hello, 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 everyone. Happy option expiration and Fed quiet period day. So, little change when Waller was speaking. If you're watching the tick, you definitely saw it. How is everyone doing? Good afternoon, Patrick. Good evening, AP's World. Good afternoon, Jacob. George says the Bulls are back. Good afternoon, Martinez. So, down a little this morning, and then Waller starts speaking, and we get the rocket launch momentum bars the upside, double pattern on the S&P played out. Percent B buys above yesterday's highs, carrying into the close. Still waiting to see on the S&P if it closes above the 62.5. So, enjoyed the last beer. You mean the last bear standing article? The last beer standing. Hola, MK. What's up, Christo? Hello, John. Stonks only go up, baby. Really? All right. Stonks only go up. Well, I guess because they're stonks. Bull run. Bull run. Love those Art Russell doubles. Caught the 4 hour and rolled. There was a double in the Russell. There was a double in the S&P. We'll go through them. Did you notice a change in the tick, Sterling? Because I know you've been studying the tick. Just trying to help people as much as I can. So that's why we'll also do a recap. Why I like to do a recap, even though I would prefer to take Friday afternoons off from this. The reason I like to do a recap is to help people because it's still fresh in my mind. It's things I might have noticed, and it's easier to come back and recap it on Friday than to wait till Sunday when it gets stale. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in who does want to learn. We had someone here like that who said things like that too often. Stonks only go up. You guys have seen my stonks flag. You guys have seen that, haven't you? Or I can't say you guys anymore, can I? I have to say you fine people of planet Earth. Maybe that's better because you know what? I can't use. I got to be so careful with what I say in this with the World Economic Forum going to take over and rule the world and force us to all eat plant-based eggs. Because gosh forbid we have cows that fart on this planet and chickens. Wow. If it wasn't so cold here in Chicago, I'd actually raise my own chickens. That's why when I move, I'm going to raise chickens. Want chickens for the eggs. I like eggs. Eggs are good food. So, the tick was spot on, shifted above the zero line and held up. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Good afternoon, Sashi. Heading on a fifth attempt at the S&P trend line. So, I don't need to cover anything more. The double in crude also triggered. Looks like it's going to close above there. So far, it's back above there, but we have to wait for the official close. So that's where you can always use market on close orders. So, see, besides healthcare, a little mixed. It became green to go. Green is good. Green. I'm saying green, not greed. Greed is not good. Greed distorts your trading abilities. Green can be good if you're bullish. Red is good if you're bearish. But there wasn't many places to hide today, this afternoon after the breakout. You see every sector is up. Fed watch after Waller's speech. 99.2. They took his speech very, very dovishly. Very dovishly. We got the momentum bars and fear and greed back in greed mode. So, is that enough? Should we wrap it up? Daily cycle's getting back to the bottom. Who else is jumping on in here? What caused a huge rally in NASDAQ today? It became, I'll use the term I hate, it became risk off mode because I think it was triggered by the dovish appearance of Waller. I don't know, and it's just then you had the OPEX, and we had stuff. We had potential. We had the bullish signals, and then as I mentioned yesterday, you was watching for these percent B buys that as I talked about, could be traded intraday above the highs, and then if as long as it closes above the high, it can be carried forward. So, I mean, just from the technical standpoint, what I think fueled it intraday was the Waller speech. Chris likes eggs. No, they get the cows. We get Beyond Meat. We're not getting Beyond Meat. I mean, it's not. I've had it. It's not horrible. It's edible, but it's, you know what? I made fillets last night, sous vide fillets, and there's no way I'm doing sous vide Beyond Meat and then trying to finish it flash sear on a grill. It's just not happening. Not gonna work for me. Not, just not. Hey, Chris. Caught the 1 hour double bottom in Intel and added to options position. Today's options finished up 15%, closed back above the 62.5 for next week. Looks good. Sterling, you don't even need to tune in anymore, Sterling. You're becoming really good at this. Don't let it go to your head. But Sterling is somebody who's definitely learned some new techniques, and I'm happy that you're applying them. Hello, options 22. Did you ride the Qs higher today? You gave me my rally to add to the covered calls. So you just have to see. I mean, you have to trade the patterns. Yeah, see, Sterling's learned. You got it because you don't know which ones will work. And you sometimes get an inkling that something's. But I've thought ones that I'm like, there's no way this will work, and then it works out. It works out. So what can I say? All right, let's just take a look at price action. By the way, here's what I wanted to do before we look at that. Just wanted to show you so you have a context. A context. By the way, if anybody wants to support the channel, remember, there are super chats available. Here's the shift. So we had the big breakdown, but look at this. This is about 20 minutes into Waller's stuff. And you see how it was sort of mixed this morning. Lower highs on the tick, drifting down, and then, and then boom. And then look at it this afternoon. If you can't spot this shift, and okay, unless this changes, we're on the bull train with that percent B intraday patterns with the doubles, then I don't know what to say. But that's how you utilize the tick. Right there. We've covered this before. I've drawn boxes around this. This was a very easy day to spot. With the fundamental change in the tick from this morning to the afternoon, there you go. All right. Now, we had the doubles on that actually triggered last night. None of these moves stopped it out. That's why people always ask, well, why are the stops so far away? Because that's what tests out the best. You can always use narrower stops, and I'll give you an example. I will give you an example, a concrete example of where I'll use a narrower stop. But I'm telling you, if the pattern's not invalidated, that's generally where I'm going to keep my stop. Because if I keep a tighter stop, the pattern's not invalidated, and then we take off, well, there you go. So, you see easily, here was the, it was up a little this morning, but then you really got the momentum this afternoon after it completed the double pattern. We're trading now. What do you think my next target is? Again, remember above yesterday's high was also the breakout level. So when it started getting above 39, 48.75 was that percent B breakout intraday. If it's not going to close above there, there's no carry forward. We're also going 15 minutes, and I have on the reverse harmonics. What key level do you think I'm watching for? 62.5. 62.5, baby. Why? Because then we should get, probability speaking, some continued follow through Sunday, Monday, somewhere in there. Okay? So, also what I am keeping an eye on, continued follow through. If this comes up to 75, and I'm really going to be focusing on this 75, why that gets us into double top pattern. Remember, we have not broken out to new highs yet, new recent highs yet. So this could, if it doesn't rally too far, this could be setting up. This could be setting up. That's why I'm going to be very close to watching that 75 next week. Let me show you. Let me show you. Why? Because do the second and the first and second targets fall within the move that created it? Yes. Now, if it rallies up too high, which would have to be around above 4,026, roughly, it wouldn't be a double. But, well, it would, you know, we'd still be watching this key low, but it would not, we could not use the double targets and the probability shift. So that's what I'm watching going into next week. Nice and simple. Let's see. I mean, we're trading right at that friggin' 62.5. I can't. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, agonizing. Why do I want it above this? Because the probability shift also now with above the 62.5. I get increased probabilities for a follow-through move. I'd like that. You know? I like when the probabilities shift. So, Mike, are you looking for timing patterns in the NAS? I've been waiting to short, and we will get to the NAS watch. I told you my S&P topping pattern that triggered the buy. I remember we talked about what do I have on here. You just asked about the NAS. Now, on the daily, we got the breakout above the high. We did not have a double, remember, but I talked about yesterday in the afternoon session, a break above today's high, intraday break with a roll into the close. This one is coming up to a very toppy area, so it's more that the S&P rolled into the close than this one. This one I would not be holding as aggressively into the close, but through to 75. So what does this lead us to? Potential topping pattern. Does that mean you'd magically short? No, because this might not ever trigger. But we do have a potential short setup. So it would need to get back below 11,308.50 on a closing basis. But we do have a setup, so I love it. Love it. And this is a fantastic area if the rally continues, besides using the 87.5, because we're well above that 62.5, 11,703, which could be easily hit Sunday night. But for continued levels, this is where, let's say it continues to rally next week, takes the potential double off the table. Well, I have a stop raise pattern for trailing, 11,816. This could even be used as another stop raise, 11,872. Also remember, I have to take the bigger swing here for the harmonics. Here's that 62.5, so that's the key level we'll be watching next week. So then what would be the targets after those two? I'd be utilizing the 75, which is right near these candle body tops. Little key reversal candle body tops. Right around that 75. So that's how we structure our roadmap. So we have a continued bullish pattern off a triggered, not only percent B buy, but a rotation entry up. See, 2-bar pullback, rotation zone, never close below the rotation zone, rotation back up entry. So we have our targets for trailing. We have our key reversal, unless there's another bearish pattern that forms. This is the only major bearish pattern there is. There we go. Hope that's making sense to people. And if you didn't spot it, here are your momentum bars. Also, on the 4 hour, remember, Clear path move. Said watch the clear path moves on the 1 hour, especially once it started taking out this 50% retracement area where we paused that briefly. Another clear path move. So I do not ignore these. Do not ignore them. Sometimes the simple things that are staring traders in the face, they just don't see. They're looking for some magical, complex thing when there's easy things staring you in the face. So, Dow, double. That was triggered. This was still a valid double, especially on that 4 hour. Remember, you can either wait for the 4 hour trigger, which ran here, or if you're on a 4 hour time frame, you want to get aggressive, you can use the 1 hour close. That's why I was showing you back here. 1 hour close. Here's where it was confirmed. Coming up here, first target hit. So we have targets for continued. Even if you weren't in there, targets for Sunday night / Monday, 33,585. No, is this, I mean, you can see that the more risk assets, look, the NASDAQ up 276 basis points, the Dow not even up 100 basis points. So that should tell you something. Russell, one of Sterling's favorite, percent B buy. You had the double, the bigger double, triggered. Nice, really nice pullback also after the trigger. You can see what's another thing I like to do when it breaks above. You watch for that pullback with the rising rotation zone. Gave a number of times to enter over a 1, 2, 3 different periods to enter and then running out right there. So that's key. That for next week, this is right at the 50. What do you think the target is? Essentially 1885 is the next key area that has to regain to really continue to stay bullish. Happy Friday, Daniel. Friday teaching is the best. Thanks for, I think you meant all that you do. You're welcome, MJ. Yeah. It's not as this way that Russell has been following the rules recently. And again, sometimes they're just, that's why you don't have patterns that are 100% or even 90%. Things go in and out. Right now, the Russell is just trading very, very well. Can it go into crappier trading again where your probabilities drop a bit? Yeah. And S&P might pick up. But the probabilities don't go horrible. They just not. The Russell's been fantastic recently. It was crappy prior some points last year. I watched yesterday's, did I hear you say S&P 3000 this year? That's a potential on the next major breakdown, yes. We're in tactical trading mode. Do we have a major breakdown pattern to give us 3000 yet? No. But we are in tactical trading, not in just a buy and hold market. Not in a buy and hold market. Howdy, Happy Jack. You almost got me trading the... Remember, if you're starting to learn something new and you're in futures, use the micros. Please use the micros. Please manage risk. Mike, thanks for your guidance today. Can you show how you came up with the clear path target on the Qs at 283 versus 284 or 284 and a half, the peak of the prior move? Thanks in advance. I'm just going to reveal all my secrets, options 22. Evening, Charles. I'll show you a little why that was the key. By the way, your Qs, what do you have? I'm going to just put it on the aggressive side at this point. But just like you do have a potential double, again, you don't short a potential. You don't short potential. You just keep it in your analysis. Also, what would that take it back below? Then I'll get to that question. That would take it back below the rotation zone. So we have a real, and look at those targets. If that were to trigger, might never trigger. We could continue to rally. We could rally to the 200. That's off the table. Especially with new people, I have to reiterate that. I know the long-time viewers understand that patterns can disappear before they even confirm or trigger. But for newer people, and I get this question showing up, well, you had a potential double. Why didn't I just short now? Because it's still a potential. It's like Humpty Dumpty sitting on the wall. Humpty Dumpty doesn't have to fall off. If Humpty Dumpty doesn't fall off, he doesn't fall off. He's got the potential to fall off. So, up in here, you had this overall clear path move on the 4 hour. The reason I took, here's a little secret when you get this kind of price action. When you get this kind of price action into a remaining 1 candle clear path move, here's the breakdown point of that area, okay? This is something I've studied this stuff for years. Here's the single candle. You got a single emotional candle into that area. There's the breakdown zone. Okay. You can even then go to the 15 because you had a really nice clear path on the 15. So I know roughly where the breakdown zone should be. Fine tuning it on the 15. Boom. You can really see that breakdown zone here right before the gap fill. What level does that give me? Read it off the screen. I just rounded up for you, options 22, but what is that? Because it's a target area. 282.98. Kaboom. There's how I gave you that target. By the way, options 22 reached out to me. That's why he reached out to me via Discord. That's why he asked for what the clear path target was. So that's exactly the target that I put out there. And look what we formed right there on a 15-minute. A little micro double top. I mean, what was the high exactly? 283.02. There you go. Some more Mike secrets. Mike trading secrets. Don't you hate that when people learn the secret of master traders? Learn the one neat trick they use to master the markets. Ugh. What a load of garbage. Well, there, I gave you the Friday trick tip. Friday's, what is it? What the Friday, I need a phrase for that. The Friday tip trick for mastering the art of trading and motorcycle maintenance. And here again, catching on the rotation zone, %B buy intraday trigger, follow through area. Also, you could have used, if you weren't using clear path, it would have been a little higher, but you would have had the 87.5 harmonic, just a little higher, and it didn't quite get there. But you should have been able to spot, let me put that back on real quick. You should have been able to spot what happens here if you're using your harmonics. What did you get? The close above the 62.5. 75, then 87.5. So we can watch for the 283.34 on Monday. And then you have your levels. Should it break Wednesday's high, we already have our roadmap in place. So we have our next target based off the harmonics, a potential topping area. But we get through Wednesday's highs. We have a gap left behind. And look at this. you have the gaps just slightly higher than the harmonic level. So where do you think the next target zone would be? Boom. We already got a roadmap. How many people have roadmaps like that? So does that answer your question, options 22? You'll use that one to teach options. You use the Humpty Dumpty option strategies. Friday's ultimate indicator. Learn it live Friday afternoons. What better place to spend your afternoon on a Friday? And then we have Coco. Crypto's booming. As again, we have risk off. Let's just buy those risk assets. Did I say evening to Charles? Good evening, Charles. Did you put any weight into 50 MA crossing above the 200? No. Tested it out. Garbage. Garbage. Don't do it. Not above 50%. I mean, it can catch some longer term moves just because of the upward bias in stocks, but I tested out with a bunch of markets and crossing both ways. It's a garbage. Don't do it. There's lots better things you can follow than that. Russell's closing above the 625 on the weekly, double bottom trigger. It has closed above it several times previously. Some odds hit the 87.5. There is, this did not invalidate it. So you're talking about this retracement, the ones that this is not invalidated yet. So yes, we still have odds that it should still potentially come up to go there. Let me remove this now. The DAX inside bar catching on that 15,000 level. Notes. I'll be watching now for new setups next week with the notes, but nothing yet. Nothing yet. Dollar index still caught in a range. If this finally can get a move on above the bottom of the rotation zone, could get interesting. The VIX, nothing going on. Crude, oh, here's an example. Here's what I wanted to talk about too. Unless we get some real, I need to see the final print, but this triggered at the end of the day. We've got the trigger on the double. Also, I talked about this is a potential double top. Now you have the double bottom, which was confirmed back on Wednesday and now triggered. You do have a double top. So guess what? This is a clear example of when I use tighter stops. Now why? Because I've mapped out the double. So the long entry, okay? If this comes back down and closes below 78.45, look at the targets. Can it hit the second target easily, and that would be and potentially close below that 62.5? Yeah. So, I mean, you could use these stops on the other side over here, which are technically still your stops. Okay, so it could technically complete this double, but if it comes all the way down here and we get a bullish setup and it does not technically stop out the double, I just look for a long re-entry pattern again. So this is an example of something that can be traded with a tighter stop range. Why? If it gets below here, I don't want to necessarily ride it all back down and keep capital tied up to try to, all right, let's now wait for a whole nother week or two to get the rally back up there. We now have a clear pattern. Now, this could rally up. Remember that first reaction to the harmonic. Little pullback, rotation zone, rotating back up. This could keep rallying and take this potential double off the table. But that's an example of when I find I can use, because of the way it's tradable, a tighter stop that might not invalidate the double pattern yet, but yeah, it would be a quick little loss from here. Could ride it down for a gain here. Also, there's a decent clear path move that it's trading back into, you see here. And then if we got another bullish reversal and this double was not invalidated, there could be another trade. It's an aspect of trading around sort of a core position mentality, I should say. So that's where we sit. So wait, keep watching for this continued rally in the end. A little pullback here, but there's no great rotation pattern yet. So it's patience with the yen at this point. Euro, patience. Pound, bullish potential pattern still well away. Somebody mentioned big rally in the Bitcoin. Again, sideways correction. Rotation zone catching up. I've talked about that many times. Hitting the next target area. 22,402. 22,400, I think, is what I listed. On a continued rally, 24,450 is the next key target. Here's another little thing for stops. If you're trying to keep trading this is where I'll use another reverse harmonic back to this level. That'll give me 23.7 as a stop level, and then it'll give me a cluster area for the top. All right. Tesla. I will be watching on another little push higher for a potential double next week. Did it eat? No, it didn't eat. What? Yeah. I looked earlier and I didn't see. I need 133.57. High 133.50. Yep, didn't think it hit there. I was watching for the official end of day prints. So we don't have a potential double, but that gives a really good, if you're trying to trade this from the long side, a really good potential trailing stop level. Other quick things before I forget. I am keeping an eye on a lot of things. If we reverse, eke out a little more upside. Amazon not quite in double top territory, but we could get that play. So this is where I'll have alerts set. Apple, this is technically a double top. Doesn't mean it has to trigger, but from a trailing perspective, it's really good, and that would take it back below the daily rotation zone. So I do have an Apple that's already there in double top territory. Google, by the way, yesterday closing with a 62.5, today falling through, so I'm still watching for a return to 100. Now this is where, I've talked about it before, the 87.5 being 108 cents. I like to use targets 99, 90, 99, 95. I hate targets right behind the round number because so many people put resting orders right there. Another one, NVIDIA. Remember, it did close above the 62.5, so we still favored the 87.5 return. But from a stop level, there is a potential double. Could be off the table on a continued rally. But again, here's reverse harmonics. Look at the harmonic cluster right there. So there's your next key area with NVIDIA's higher, but you do from a longer term basis, or you're watching for short trades, especially if this rallies up a bit more, does not invalidate the double and gets the rotation zone out of the way on the daily, there could be a really nice fairway off, but potential topping pattern in NVIDIA. Stuff to keep an eye on. What do we have here? This is the SMH. Not quite. So this is what I'm going to be watching going into next week, because this could be a topping pattern potentially next week. We'll keep an eye on it for the whole semiconductors. This was a %B buy, follow through today, close above the 62.5. So we should, probability-wise, get this double in play next week. I think that's what I wanted to cover. Let me just glance here real quick. That's pretty good for today. So I shall leave it as that. Let me see. Infomercial, throw in some free Ginsu knives. China tech is hot, and I believe the market's prior to US. I believe we see a drop on Monday near the close. Could you explain the %B buys? What are you looking at in the chart? I'm looking at this little %B indicator. I'm looking at this, which is based on Bollinger Bands. I will be releasing that. Coin is bumping up against the 100-day. I don't use the 100-day. I know some people do. Coin, it's bumping up against the 200-day on the 4-hour. And this is the only thing. You know, as long as this silly risk rally goes on, it'd be trailing, but you got it. This is a double. So you have a great trailing stop level. And and right now, rotating back up, so next key harmonic area I'd be utilizing is about 59.68 to 60.50. 60.50 being a key breakdown zone. But this is a very good trailing stop level. Car, and then, all right, we'll take a look at car. Yes, it's just a little pullback. Remember, this is a huge long-term pattern. So yeah, I'd be watching for a potential rotation back up. But even if it drops to 40, nothing's wrong with the pattern. This is a weekly pattern. Now, you get a close below here, that could get interesting. If you get a close below on a weekly basis below 40.83, could get interesting. So that's not a potential double top. Thank you. But it could still get interesting with a clear path move. Now, where do you need the stop level? What invalidates this huge double bottom pattern? A close below 37.41 or a trade below 35.98. So this can be put in even with these pullbacks. People say, well, how come it pulled back? Well, because remember, you can get a lot can go on before a pattern completes. Remember copper? I took so much crap for this thing too. Look, I mean, this is a weekly chart. Triggered. So since the trigger week, let's just count since the trigger week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at all this. The daily, so many people. It triggered a double and it's not going anywhere. Well, I can't control the time frame. I wish I could. Went a whole bunch of nowhere, gave a ton of time to get into it, and then exploded. I can't control when that happens. I tried to look for timing, like to nail down timing anymore. It was not consistent. All you have to be patient with is for bigger patterns, they can take a lot longer. All right. With that, thank you for tuning in. Gold, you really are trying to make me stick around. I don't know, I'll have to take a closer look at that. I'll have to take a closer look at that for Sunday. I have not measured out everything on gold. So we'll take a look at that for Sunday. So stay tuned for Sunday. I'll be back 3 p.m. on Sunday. And with that, everyone have a wonderful weekend. Again, I hope you learned something. And I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.